And it's 7 o'clock.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the November 13th, 2023 meeting of the Carver School Committee. If you could all please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Right?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to start off this evening with some recognitions, which is always wonderful.
So first, just as a reminder, just to let everybody know, this meeting is being held virtually in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public can access this meeting live at Town Hall in Meeting Room 1. They can access it on Zoom, and they can also access it being a live broadcast on Area 58 cable. So our first recognition this evening is we're actually excited to announce that we've been able to hire a new position in the district. It's a drug-free grant coordinator. So if you remember, about a year and a half ago, we applied for a federal grant. It's called the Drug-Free Communities Grant. And that grant provides us the ability to hire a coordinator to work with our Carver Cares group to have a regional and community coalition that focuses on really supporting families and students in the community with substance abuse intervention and prevention. So we're very excited to have Megan Quirk here with us. Megan is our new drug-free grant coordinator. She just wanted to have her come up, introduce her to the community, and really make the community aware that the school district applied for this grant. We've received this grant. The position through the federal grant is funded for 5 years. The assumption being that after 5 years you can reapply if it's going well. And most people, it goes well, and they're able to extend the grant for an additional 5 years. So this would be a position paid through this federal grant, hopefully for 10 years. And then the goal is after that time, that after 10 years, that the thought process would be that the position would be integrated into the community, into the school system, and the town of Carver would want to maintain the position, really with the goal of supporting all of our families within the community of Carver with any substance-related issues. We're really excited to have Megan join us in this work. She comes with an outstanding background. She worked for several years in the Middleborough Public Schools as a family community liaison. So her role was to work specifically with families and with area community agencies, providing students with a range of resources. Just beyond substance relief, really, could go into food insecurities, homelessness, and many of those things are kind of offshoots that you might see through drug-related issues. So the contacts that Megan brings to us in this position is really tremendous. She's already ingrained in the larger Plymouth County and Bristol County districts in terms of the community resources available, and she's just going to help and work with us to bring some of those resources to the members of the Carver community. So we're really excited having Megan here. I just wanted to introduce Megan to the community and give her a second to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Superintendent Neath. Thank you, school committee members, for this time tonight. I'm really excited about this opportunity here in Carver. I did spend the last 8 years in Middleborough as a family resource coordinator for the school district, and I did work pretty significantly with Middleborough Matters, which is part of the Plymouth Area Prevention Coalition or Collaborative, and Carver Cares is one of the communities that is in that umbrella, under that umbrella. So I'm really looking forward to focusing on prevention for youth right now, prevention services for youth here in Carver. So I did bring a lot of Carver Cares swag over on the table. Please pick some up and take it with you. The hope is that we will see more and more of our community members around the Carver Cares table. It is an open table. Anyone can attend. My hope is that I can support them to just grow that coalition, throughout these efforts here in Carver. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
And just to give you a little background history, the coalition was fairly strong within the community prior to the COVID pandemic. And with like many things during the pandemic, we lost a little bit of the momentum that we had going forward. So we're excited about having Megan here and trying to reestablish that momentum and bring community partners back into the partnership. So really, it's a school-based position, and the school was the lead partner in the grant. but ultimately this is a community position. And Megan's role is going to be going out and making outreach to all community, faith-based organizations, fire, police, EMS, library, any group in Carver that exists. She's going to be reaching out to that group and saying, hey, we want you to be part of this coalition. We want to work as a community to support all of our families in dealing with these issues around substance abuse. So we're excited about that and really excited to have this position for not the Carver School District, but for the Carver community.
Yes, yes. And if anyone would like to reach out and connect with me, I'm trying my very best to connect as quickly as I can with the sector representatives for Carver Cares, and I'm really looking forward to building that team. So feel free to reach out to me, and I will come to you, and we can talk about your interests in substance use prevention for youth and the things that you're seeing in the community. That's one of the biggest pieces for me, is really learning what Carver needs right now. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Megan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
We do have a second recognition this night of several students. So as a district, we've decided to recognize the students who received exceeding expectations on one or more of their MCAS exams. To our students who are here this evening, your dedication to academic excellence is truly commendable. We want to express our appreciation for your hard work and commitment to your own studies. Your superior performance on the MCAS exam is really reflective of your diligence and your determination. We all take pride in having students like you who establish high standards for themselves and inspire our other students within the Carver community to excellence. So we're really excited to have a group of students here this evening that we're going to recognize. Students, as I call your name, if you could come forward, and we'll just have everybody kind of up here in front of the school committee, then we'll do a big group picture at the end. So we actually broke this recognition over 3 meetings because we did have, throughout the district, we had many students who scored in this exceeding category. And we thought it made sense to just break it out alphabetically, just so we're going to be representing both the elementary school and the middle high school from students from grade 3 to grade 10 here tonight. Just because obviously we're going to see that there are some families where more than one student was recognized. So we wanted to make it a little easier on the families to have them come out for one night of recognition instead of doing it by grade level or by subject. So here we go. We're excited first. Kyle Hoffman, grade 10 math. Take the lead up front.
Good job.
Kendall Holmes, grade 4 English and math. Owen Holmes for grade 8 science. And Ryder Holmes for grade 10 math. Dakota Ings for grade 3 English. Dakota. Maggie Kemp for grade 4 math. Addison Lanou for grade 5 science. Leo Lyman for grade 10 English. Slide down a little bit. Thanks, guys. Kaylee McKechnie for grade 8 English. John Murray for grade 4 math. Maximus Masters for grade 10 English. Max. Riley Mazerall for grade 4 math. Alexia McDonald for grade 3 English. And finally, for grade 10 English, Megan McInerney. One more round of applause for all of our. We want to do a picture with the school committee? Everybody's excited for all to do a picture with the school committee? Like, yes, we're excited about the school. Yeah, so step forward a little bit. Step forward. We'll do a picture view. Tall people in the back. Hold the kids in the back.
Stay put for your parents.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to everybody. Obviously, we'd love to have you stay for the meeting, but we certainly understand if you have other commitments this evening.
Right, congratulations, everyone.
See, there's no option.
Just bear with us a minute as everyone clears out of the room, and we'll get back to our agenda.
He probably has to. Scott, I had a little technical difficulty where my computer just restarted. Do you?
So I gotta get you back on.
Yeah, I'm in there, but there's no video.
Yep.
Thank you.
Should be able to turn the video on now. Thank you. Have a nice day. See you.
Congratulations, Lex. Okay, so the majority of the crowd has left. So we shall continue. And next on the agenda is comments from the EAPC. So welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tammy Johnson, work at the Carver Middle High School, for those people that don't know. Representative of the EAPC, the vice president of Carver. So I'd just like to, first of all, it's the perfect time to express gratitude. There's so much to be thankful for. We have an amazing football team that just keep getting better and better every week. We're about to hear later tonight about the drama club. Our elementary school has had over, Scott knows better, over 100 students that have been participating in their school musical, which is just been, it's an exciting time in Carver. And some of the things I want to share as far as from my colleagues is the appreciation specifically, and I know I mentioned it last time, but I think it's just really important, the work that we do on the workload committee, the work that we do on the health and safety committee. I just have been constantly getting feedback, especially appreciation of the listening, that these things are being heard, and that we're trying to work towards having a safe place for our students where we can continue to excel. So very thankful, and I hope everyone has a nice November. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tammy.
you. Okay, so that brings us to comments from Captain's Council.
Yeah, so we're excited tonight from the volleyball team. We have Nia DeRoche and Mackenzie Wall. And from the field hockey team, we have Natalie Wakitz and Madison Butler. Oh, sorry. And Allie Perry, sorry. And Maddie's not here. No, look around, no Maddie, yes, Allie.
All right. Hello,
Hello everyone, my name is Nina DeRoche,
And my name is Mackenzie Wall.
and we're the captains of the volleyball team.
I'm Allie Perry,
I'm Natalie Wakis.
and we're the field hockey captains for this year.
We're here to tell you the final standings for this year's volleyball, soccer, cross country, and golf teams.
And we will be talking about our field hockey season, the football season, and some other events taking place at our school this week.
So first we're going to start with volleyball. As volleyball is still considered a new program for Carver, we had one of our best seasons yet, making it to the second round of the MIAA tournament, letting us stand at a record of 11-9, making it our first winning season.
So our season this year, we finished 6-10-3, and all three of our captains, including Maddie, were nominated for All-Stars this year, and we placed 29th in the state tournament, and we finished our season with a 1-0 loss against the number 4 seed Sutton.
Girls soccer had a great season with the numbers that they had to work with. They fought hard, but unfortunately didn't qualify for the playoffs.
Carver football is 10-0 for this season after just beating KIPP Academy this past Friday. They move on to their semifinal game, which is this Friday, November 17th at 6 p.m. This game is held at a neutral site, which is Shepherd Hill Regional High School in Dudley, Massachusetts. And if they win this game, they move on to the state finals at Gillette Stadium.
So exciting.
For cross country, they just went to divisionals where Luke Holden placed 11th overall, going to all states, and the team placed 10th overall.
Golf recently went to states with a final record of 7-4.
And this upcoming week, we have our Powder Puff football game. So the high school girls will be playing flag football. It's going to be at 11:30 after our half day on Wednesday. And then on Monday, we have, we have next Wednesday at 6 p.m. we have our Meet the Winter Coaches, and we will get to meet our winter coaches.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
Great
the
job.
update.
Congratulations on your seasons for
Yeah.
volleyball and field hockey.
Congratulations.
Both great seasons.
Okay, so that brings us to the comments from the general public portion of our meeting. If there's anyone here in the room who'd like to speak, you can just come right up to the table. I just quickly want to add that if there's anyone that's on Zoom that would also like to be recognized to speak, if you could please put your name in the chat, and we will make sure that we give you an opportunity to speak. So we have someone that came up to the microphone, so welcome. If you could please tell everyone who you are.
Sure. I'm Barry Strusky from Canterbury Drive, and I am here to say thank you. Thank you to many people. I do want to specify Mr. Neef, because I appreciate all his work on something that was very important to me. This summer I reached out to several Carver leaders, including Mark Townsend, the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Chief Dufilli from the police, and then of course Mr. Neef from the school department. And I asked for help because I live on a street that borders South Meadow Road, and I noticed for many years how fast people go on that road. The speed limit's 35, people go 50, I think. And of course, during school year or school opening and closing, the speed limit's 20. So I reached out to them. I talked to Mr. Neef via email and voicemail, and unbeknownst to me, they took the ball and ran with it, and they got the job done. I woke up this week and I found a beautiful speed limit sign on South Meadow Road that's telling people to slow down. And so I just am really proud to live in this town with great leaders like you guys. But you know, I don't know if you hear a lot of praise, so I wanted to come down here and thank you in person. So I don't know how you made it happen, but...
Well, I actually have to give the credit to Mr. Siedentoff. So I did talk to Mr. Siedentoff, and there was actually some state grants available, and so he had applied through some grant money that he had available for specifically this thing, to put in these lights by schools. But we were able to get it done quickly, use the grant funds and procure the contract and have them installed. So they're going to be flashing from 7 a.m. to 7:30 and from 2 to 2:30 on South Meadow Road. Dave did want me to mention, because I think the placement might seem a little odd, but it was really based on some of the other lines that were running along that road, including specifically the gas line. So they, obviously they worked with DigSafe in the community of where could they safely put these in, because they're both on the same side of the road. I don't know if people have noticed that. But it was just because of where the gas line was, and because of some other features. So one is right by Cranberry Road. It's right there, well, not crossing. The other one's a little bit farther down, probably farther away than it would normally be, but it was the same thing. It came down to people's property lines and where underground services were. But they said they did the best they could to place them as close to the school as possible.
All right, well, one last time, I'm very grateful, and I thank you, Mr. Neef, and nice job employing a great guy like him. I know you're very
nice
humble.
to say, Mr. President. Nice,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for advocating, and thank you to everyone that was involved in making that come to fruition. It was a nice surprise. So thank you for that. It's great to have some more safe signage out there to hopefully keep kids safe when they're walking to school. Okay, so that, I did not see anyone in the chat.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody in the chat.
So it does not appear there's anyone else that would like to be recognized to speak. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Okay. Seeing no motion to the microphone, that will bring us to the approval of minutes. And we have two sets of minutes. One is from the October 16th, 2023 school committee workshop, and then the other minutes are from our last meeting on October 23rd, 2023, the open session minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for October 16th, 2023 school committee workshop and October 23rd, 2023 open session meeting minutes.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I did notice on the meeting minutes from the workshop on October 16th that there is some information from the minutes missing. So I also took some notes during that meeting, and I know that we made a motion to adjourn. I believe it was at 7:10 p.m. Kelly made the motion, Jackie seconded the motion, and the three of us voted unanimously. So if that could just be added to the minutes, that would be great. I don't know if anyone else had any suggested changes to either set, or if they are okay as written. Okay, so do we need to make a motion to?
Yeah, you should probably
right,
separate
to
out the
vote them?
motions, and you should probably do a motion to approve
Amend.
the amended minutes
Okay.
as, the minutes as amended, and then do a second vote on the other set of minutes.
Okay.
I move that we approve the October 16th, 2023 school committee workshop meeting minutes
As
As amended.
as amended.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion about the amended October 16th, 2023 school committee workshop minutes? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? No. Okay, so then if you could please make a motion for the 23rd.
I move that we approve the October 23rd, 2023 open session minutes.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion regarding the October 23rd, 2023 open session minutes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to communications.
Yeah, so we're excited tonight as a communication to do a little preview of our upcoming drama production at the middle high school. So we're happy to have Tammy Johnson with us, and also three students, Megan Daly, Emma Robbins, and Tori Tully. So I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about the show and when it's coming up, and I know you're going to maybe do a brief
Little skit.
little skit.
Little trailer.
A little trailer.
For you all. We are incredibly excited. So this is the first year that we are combining our middle and high school. We did have some trepidation doing this because we've never done it before. Last year was our first musical Annie for the middle school, and I can't tell you, like, every turn of the way, these students have exceeded our expectations from the time that we had auditions. We I think planned on a Thursday afternoon from like 2 to 5 or something, and we ended up extending it through Friday afternoon, like from 2 to 7. It was just incredible, and the amount of talent. So we have just a little tidbit of what we have to offer for the talent that is going to be December 1st, December 2nd at 7 p.m. We are praying the football team is not that same Friday night. I'm just saying. So anyway, so we are incredibly excited. So what we're gonna do is a little intro, a little taste of Matilda. We're gonna be in Miss Honey's classroom, which is a classroom full of the young students who are learning to read. And then I told the actors here that this is like radio style, and we're just gonna be just kind of cool and collected. We don't want to give too much away. And then at the end, they do have a little bit something can share. And then if you have any questions or anything, that's what we're gonna do right now. So, when I say action, you can start. All right, and action.
Matilda, starting tomorrow I shall bring in a selection of very clever books that will challenge your mind. You can sit aside and read them while I teach the others. And if you have any questions, well, I shall do my best to answer them. How does that sound? Matilda, why, this is the biggest hug in the world. You're going to hug all the air out of me.
Matilda Wormwood, where is...
Yes, Miss Trunchbull.
Aha! So you admitted to you.
Admit what, Miss Trunchbull?
This morning, this foul carbuncle sneaked like a serpent into my kitchen and stole a piece of my private chocolate cake off my tea tray.
I did not.
Miss Trunchbull, Matilda's been here all morning.
Standing up for the little spitball, are you? Well, this crime took place before school started. Therefore, she is guilty.
I don't know if it reaches that far, but hi guys, my name is Megan Daly. I played Cinderella last year in the Carver Middle High School production, and I was Elsa in the summer before in Frozen the musical. I've loved acting, and I would really appreciate it if you guys all promote the musical because it's a really big deal to all of the members of the drama club.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm Emma Robbins. I'm a junior. Last year I played Fairy Godmother in Cinderella, and yeah, I agree. I think the arts are very important, and we really want to have like a big audience for us to show off what we've been working on.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Tori Telly. I'm in 7th grade, and last year I got asked to be a mouse in Cinderella, but in the Annie production I was Miss Hannigan, and it would really mean a lot if you guys put some like posters out and stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I saw all of you in all of those shows last year.
Yeah,
They were wonderful.
Yep, all of those shows were amazing.
They're great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for being here this
Yeah.
evening.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you
what
for
day
coming.
again, Tammy?
December 1st and 2nd, 7 p.m.
I believe the football game is December 1st.
Well, I heard
Oh, it might get
could be
changed?
Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna be, it's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Friday.
It won't be determined until.
Oh, excellent.
Not yet.
95% chance it'll be Wednesday, Thursday.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there's 8 divisions, and they're playing those 8 divisions over 3 nights.
Oh, wow, okay.
So
Good to
there's
know.
there's actually a better chance that it's not Friday, but it could be. But there's
Right.
there's a better chance that it will
Awesome.
not be.
Well, thank
Hope
you
so.
so much.
Fingers crossed.
Right? Thank you for
Thanks
that
being
amazing
here.
preview.
Congratulations.
I hope you all break legs.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so that brings us, there's another communication. Where does that go?
Yep, so we have a second communication this evening. So since our last meeting, we were notified by the College Board that we were a recipient of the AP Honor Roll Silver Medal. And the silver medal the medals are based upon student participation and student scores. So we saw an increase in participation, as I think we actually talked about at our last meeting, and also based on the percentage of our students who score 3 or higher. Carver was recognized as a silver medalist district, so I just wanted to recognize our students for their performance and for, as part of what we're doing in terms of pathways and promoting more students to take AP courses. They're always looking for you to increase AP enrollment, because ultimately, the students who have access to AP courses in high school are going to be better prepared for the rigors of the college education they decide to pursue. And then if they decide not to pursue a college education in terms of just the thought process and the challenge that happens in AP courses, we want to expose as many students as we can to the most rigorous curriculum we can. And so increasing our numbers is a good thing.
Excellent.
So just wanted to make this committee aware of that recognition.
Right. Yeah, it's great. It's great to see. Congrats to everyone involved in our College Board AP courses. That's a lot of work. Okay, so that brings us to reports from the superintendent.
Okay, we have had some personnel movement since our last meeting. We have several new hires. Sarah Costas in food services at the middle high school. Paula Murphy actually returning to us as a long-term sub in the English department at Carver Middle High School. And Victoria Gordon as a food service worker at the middle high school. We did have some transfers within our custodial department. So Wendy Stasiowski was a food service worker who's going to the split shift custodian at the middle high school. Christine Amaral is going from a third shift custodian to a second shift custodian and team leader at the middle high school. And we did have one retirement effective, not yet, but November 30th. Donna Howard as a custodian who's worked for the district for many years. Second shift custodian at the middle high school will be retiring effective the end of November.
Okay. Thank you. So that brings us to reports from the Student Advisory Council.
Hi everyone. I hope you all had a good Halloween if you celebrate. We're officially in the holiday season, which I am personally very excited about. November is typically a slower month event-wise at the middle high school, but I still have some fun stuff to share. To start off, the National Honor Society has begun their first project of the year, which is the Shane Gives Thanks food drive. We'll be collecting donations for the next month or so, with each grade from 9 through 12 getting their own bin to try and fill. Invitations for new members to apply also went out last week, and our advisor, Mr. Mallon, thinks that the induction ceremony will take place around early to mid-December. Student Council also had our monthly meeting this past week. Members took part in a team building activity where we had to sort through mixed up pieces to complete a puzzle, and we laid out the foundation for our holiday activities this December, which I'll tell you more about next time. There's a lot of wintry fun in store, I promise. And now I'm sure you've all heard about how great the football team is doing, as we've heard tonight. So I just wanted to remind you that the Thanksgiving game against Middleborough is home this year. So it would be nice if we had a big turnout. And then as the athletic advisory students shared, Powder Puff, which is where the football team coaches the girls in their respective grades, is also in full swing, and the games will be on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. For this last portion of the report, since there wasn't a whole lot to share, I'm going to focus on the things that we talked about at the student advisory meeting this past Monday, which is the council that I'm representing. I know that Colleen, Katie, and Mr. Neef were all present, but I think it's important for everyone to know the things that we've been discussing. Firstly, we talked about some potential structural and content issues with the nutrition curriculum for the high school, which was brought to one of our members' attention through complaints from other students. We then went over some talking points that Mr. Neef compiled, which he noticed were increasingly relevant in schools across the country, at times even excluding Carver. The other student representatives and I gave our opinions on issues like banning books, cell phone policies, and the ever-growing presence of AI in the education system. We also shared how relevant these issues seem to be to students in our school, and came to a resounding conclusion that though these things are problematic in their own regard, none are pertinent issues at CMHS. In fact, the only one that we've really seen in our school, of course from the perspective of a student, is cell phone use, and even that doesn't seem to be nearly as extreme of a problem here as it is in other districts. To wrap up our meeting, we briefly discussed the Israeli-Palestinian war. And though this is obviously a huge deal in the world at large, it seems that few to no students have taken a stance on or even discussed the matter, be it in person or on social media. However, that does not mean that students are not suffering behind closed doors. As the death toll continues to increase and more horrifying media is put onto our screens each day, it's impossible to predict how students, especially those with close relation to the issue, will react emotionally. All of this to say that I encourage all of you, and just everyone in general, to be extra kind and watchful over the well-being of those around you during this deeply unsettling time. Your voice and your compassion matter. And that is everything I have for this. Awesome.
Thank you, Corinne. That was outstanding.
Great. Thank you, Corinne. Okay, so that brings us to private and outside enrollment 2023 10-year review.
And so each year we look at where school-age children who live in Carver attend school. if they're not attending school in the Carver Public Schools. So there's a couple documents that are linked here for your review. As members of the school committee, I'll bring them up briefly for the community at home. And I'm going to be referencing both documents as I kind of go through, so I'll kind of switch between the two of them. So the first thing we look at is a list of students who live in Carver but are educated in another way. So this is literally actually a list of every single school that Carver school-age students attend. Sorry, Meredith. Yeah. And the number of students from Carver who are attending those different schools. And I think sometimes if people look at this list, it's actually pretty amazing the number and the range of different schools of people living in Carver attend. I bet there's a lot of schools on this list that people would say, I didn't even know that that was a school when they look at the list. And then the second document we'll look at, but you don't have to bring it up right now, Meredith, but I'll bring it. You do not have to bring it up right now, but we'll do it later. Is there's a 10-year review of the number of students who live in Carver who've been educated in another way, because we kind of track this number over time. The overall number of students who live in Carver but are seeking educational alternatives has decreased since last year by 8 students. Last year, 260 students, or 14.4% of the school-age population in Carver, sought educational alternatives. This year, it's 252 students, or 14.2% of the total school-age population. 10 years ago, that number was of 220 students and about 11.8% of the school-age population. And really, ultimately, over that time, students' options have increased through charter schools, virtual academies. The reality is there's just more options for students than there were 10 years ago. So as those options have increased, the number of students who select one of those options and attend a different school has increased. Though we have seen a decrease in that number slightly over the last 3 years. The COVID year was the high. So actually, Meredith, I'm saying that, but now if you can go over to the other document, that'd be great. There you go. So the COVID year 2020, 2021, 16.4% of our students sought some sort of educational alternative. So that number is actually down a little bit. So we're down to 14%. And you can see that number, how it's changed over time. And you can see from 2014-15 to 2020-21, there was kind of a steady increase. 11.8, 11.7, 12.8, 13.3, 13.6. Here in that high end of 16.4, now it's starting to trend back down in a different direction. So ultimately, that's our goal. We want to offer programming here that wants students to be in Carver. We want to offer programming here that wants students to stay in Carver. That has been some of the focus of the work we've been doing in terms of curriculum upgrades, adding the Pathways programs at the middle high school. We want to be competitive with all of these options. But like, as I said, the reality is students just have more options than they did in the past. So, Meredith, if you don't mind going back over to the other document. This year, interestingly enough, the largest decrease has been in vocational and agricultural schools. Currently, we have 87 students attending some sort of vocational or agricultural school outside the district compared to 97 last year. And that change actually came really mostly from Old Colony. So the Old Colony enrollment decreased from 89 students to 79 students. This number historically has always remained very consistent. If you go back, I've been in the district for 30 years. 25 years ago, there was always 100 kids at Old Colony. Generally, there's 25 students per class on average over time. Our classes have gone a little smaller, so that number has declined a little bit. The last 4 or 5 years, it's been more in the 90s. And this year, we had a little bit of a dip. We dropped down to 79, which is actually probably the lowest number of students we've actually ever had total enrolled in Old Colony. But I think we'll stay around that range of having approximately 80 to 90 students enrolled in Old Colony. And because those, obviously there's options there that are not available within the Carver Public Schools, but that's the basis and the concept of vocational education. So there's certain programs they run that we don't run, and there's programs we have that they don't offer. We do have 13 students who are selecting virtual private academies this year. The first time a student attended a virtual private academy was in 2019-2020, which people probably wouldn't find shocking, that was the COVID year, and it was just one student. This is actually a number that's continued to grow, so I think people are starting to talk about this option as an opportunity for them to enroll in these private academies. The interesting part about these schools is most of these private online academies, many of them are not even located in Massachusetts, as you can see from the list. Kansas City, Missouri, Miami, Florida, Rock Rapids, Iowa, Norcross, Georgia. So these schools are really across the country, but they are 100% virtually online schools. But where we've seen the shift here is really some of our homeschooled students at the high school age are going to these virtual academies. Homeschooling becomes particularly challenging at the high school age level, just because the wide variety of subject knowledge and matter you need to know, and maybe not having the range of expertise to be able to offer those courses. But the interesting part is these, technically, it's an interesting question that we're going to research with the state is, are these students actually still considered homeschooled? Because ultimately they now enroll in a full school, which they're paying tuition to, that's an online academy, just like if they enrolled and went to a private school like BC High. So what we're asking them to do currently is we accept their enrollment to these schools, we send their records like we do in any other school, and we just actually ask them to complete like the whole homeschool application, but it's just to notify us as, yes, we still live in Carver, and we're attending one of these academies. So that is a trend that's happened over the last couple of years. We've seen that number kind of continue to grow. And again, that's just talking about opening up a range of opportunities for students. Students can now attend virtual. I'm not trying to sell them to the community, but students can now attend virtual academies that are really across the world. We only have students attending in the United States, but these are kind of everywhere. Charter school enrollment has remained fairly steady. We've been around that number of 65 to 70 students in charter schools over the last couple of years. Ultimately, we are going to advocate for students to stay here in Carver, and I understand why families pick educational opportunities for a range of reasons. From they had brothers and sisters who went to that school, or they might have a program they're particularly interested in. Charter schools sometimes are very specific in terms of the things that they offer. But ultimately, we want to have programming here that wants to have students stay. And so we're happy that our charter school numbers kind of stayed flat, but we'd like to see it go down a little bit more too. So Rising Tide enrollment increased from 47 to 50 students. MAP Academy has increased from 10 to 13 students, though several of these students never actually attended Carver High School. So some of our students who are at MAP either went to Old Colony or Rising Tide first and then went from there to MAP Academy. MAP Academy is an alternative means to, it's a charter school that's focus is supporting students who struggled in a regular school environment to earn their diploma. We have 2 students attending TECA Virtual Academy, which is interesting. TECA is a virtual academy like the other ones we mentioned here, but it is an approved charter school within Massachusetts. So from a funding mechanism, it operates as a charter school. And we get a charter school assessment for students who attend TECA, because it is considered a public school within Massachusetts. That's why it's different than the other private virtual high schools that students are attending on this list. School choice, I think it's always important to mention at this time. So we have 8 students who are choicing out of the district, but we currently have 72 students who are choicing in. So we are plus 65 in that category. And I do want to note for the community, because I do think sometimes sometimes there are questions about school choice and why the committee has continued to support school choice, and there's a lot of good reasons to do that. But one that I think is a particularly powerful reason is that 21 of our 72 school choice students who choiced into the district were Carver residents who moved and decided to stay in the Carver public schools through school choice. So 30%, or almost 1/3 of our school choice students are Carver kids who availed themselves of the opportunity to stay in the Carver public schools. So I just think that's something the community should be aware of. And obviously this charter school enrollment, this school choice enrollment helps balance off our cost of charter schools. because through school choice, we receive money, and as a district, depending on the student's needs. The general number is $5,000 per student that the district receives to educate those students, but it varies depending on the student's individual needs. If a student's on an IEP, they might require support, so it would bring additional funding to the school district. And then we pay an assessment for students who go out through charter schools. They don't totally balance themselves off, but certainly bringing in the school choice monies helps support the school's budget. So that's something also the community needs to be aware of. And I think it's a great statement for the Carver Public Schools that, you know, we have 65 more students who choice into the district versus choicing out. The other institutions that actually have seen a little bit of a hit because of the opportunities that are available, and I think we've seen this, is your religious private school enrollment has actually decreased. And if you look over time, that number is decreasing. So over the last 10 years, that number is just going down. And I think it's the same thing that we're seeing within the public school setting, is that there's just more choices. You know, there's more options, there's more opportunities available for students to select. You know, so that number has been slowly decreasing over time. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but 5 years ago, I would guess that maybe we had between 40 and 50 students attending private religious educations like Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart High School was still open at that time. Coyle Cassidy was still open. Now Coyle's closed. So, you know, they're actually seeing a decreasing alignment in general in those schools. And our numbers, our students attending what we would traditionally call the private brick and mortar academies has also decreased from 10 to 7 students. And those kind of brick and mortar academies would be your Tabors, your Notre Dame. That number's gone. That number's gone down a little bit. Fair. Those numbers have declined a little bit. So overall, what's our takeaways from looking at all this data? I think it's great that we look. I think it's good for us as a community to look at this on a yearly basis. So the administrative team looks at it. We share it with the community. We look at our trends. You know, so our goal is to continue to build out our pathways and the programming and the offerings we have here at Carver Middle High School to encourage all of our students to feel that they have a home here, a place for them to be successful and succeed in the Carver Public Schools. Charter school attendance is steady, though it does have the largest impact on the district financially, which we'll talk more about as we get into budgeting later on in the year, not necessarily today. But as I said, being plus 65 in school choice helps mitigate that financial cost of the students attending charter schools. And then, you know, we've seen a increase in the percentage of students who are staying in district. So the numbers trending down, those small, it's a small trend down, but hopefully our goal is to see that trend continue. And we'd love to get back to that place of, you know, between 10 and 12%. There's a reality piece of it. There's always, families for a wide variety of reasons are always going to choose other options because they're out there, they exist. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point that we have 100% of every kid who lives in Carver attending the Carver Public Schools. But I think that number of closer to between 10 and 12% might be a good target number for us to try to get to and get back to that number in terms of the percentage of students who are seeking educational alternatives. I just said a lot of things. There's a lot of numbers here. I will answer any questions you have about any of these numbers to the best of my ability, if any.
Anyone have any questions? I'm hopeful with all of the, you know, I'm sure we all are, with all of the improvements, with the, you know, recent success of our athletic program and how things are trending upward for our district, that it will help improve our attractability to kids in transition grades. But you're right, people are always going to choose to homeschool or to go to a VOTEC or an Aggie school, and it's great to have those options, but it's also great to see it trending downward and that families are choosing to keep their kids in Carver Public Schools. So thank you for all of that information. I know a lot of effort goes into that behind the scenes, so thank you for putting that together for us and presenting it. So that brings us to the MCAT.
I will say, before I move on, I will say thank you to Gina. She does a lot of work compiling that data. You know, so it becomes our responsibility to track every student who lives in Carver to ensure that they're enrolled in school somewhere. Now, obviously, it's a part of this is a sharing process, so each district is technically responsible under the law to identify the home district of school students who are staying there or attending school there. But sometimes we have to do some tracking. and some reminders to gather all this information. So thank you to Gina for all her work on that.
Yes, thank you, Gina. I know it's a lot of work. Okay, so that brings us to the MCAS action plan.
So I'm going to turn this Meredith. I'll work with Meredith on this. Do I do elementaries? Which one do you have up first?
I have elementary.
Elementary first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, that's
Very
fine.
excited about this.
All right. So first off, thank you. I was not here when Superintendent Neve presented the MCAS slides because I was part of a NEASC visiting team helping to co-chair that experience. So I'm grateful that you have the background story of the data, and obviously are supportive of efforts to try to improve those scores, because ultimately, as we've talked with staff and with faculty about the results, most people feel like it is not indicative of the effort that our students put in and the amount of work that goes into it. So the idea here would be not to perseverate or hyper-focus on MCAS, but to really have that be more representative of where our students are at, and obviously make some tweaks to our practices so that that can become a reality when we assess again this upcoming spring. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of the process, after looking at that data, I think on October 2nd here at school committee, on October 6th, we were able to convene 2 different groups, one in each school for about 2 hours each. The groups were about 20 to 25 teachers with a few administrators kind of peppered in there, and we were able to look at the data more closely, and then from there start to work in small teams to develop action plans, because the idea is we wanted the teachers that are doing the heavy lift day in and day out to help co-construct that. So at the elementary school, there were representatives in grades 3, 4, and 5, in math and English language arts, in special education, and science, who could do a deeper dive and look at the data. From there, in response to the data, they outlined some action steps to be able to make sure that what we're doing aligns with the state frameworks, and that we are all pulling together in the same direction. So I'm going to give an overview. I know you have it in front of you and you can do a deeper dive into the data or into the plan. But ideally with English language arts, we noticed that our reading and writing scores, if you tease those out and break them apart, that writing really needs a bit of a revival coming out of COVID. So obviously when we came back from COVID, you heard me talk a lot about unfinished learning and interrupted socialization, and we're kind of back on course with a lot of those pieces, but there are still some components that we're trying to make up for. So just a commitment to writing across the board in both buildings, and making sure that we have daily writing opportunities for students, that they have a chance to respond to text, that teachers are able to get together and do some common scoring. So previously, for the better part of last decade, we were doing something called benchmark scoring, where once a trimester, a common prompt would be given at a grade level, students would then write about it, and then teachers would get together and co-score, which not only improves inter-rater reliability, but it gives a consistent data set for teachers to be able to say, oh, this is where Corinne is strong, and this is where I can help her improve, this is where Colleen is strong, this is where I can help her improve, and so on and so forth. And it just helps teachers be able to do that level of differentiation. So we're bringing that back in both buildings. In fact, at the elementary school, they were eager to get working on that, so they actually did their first common prompt back on October 19th. It was a half day, so the students did the writing prior to that, and then that afternoon I did a quick training on how the state looks at MCAS writing and what they're looking for in students writing, to make sure that we're aligned with the frameworks, and then teachers set to work and did an incredible amount of work to be able to analyze that. So ideally from that, we'll also embed those findings in our practice, so how we're teaching between now and when we do another one in the winter. and that will also take some opportunities throughout the year to familiarize students, especially third and fourth graders. They're young, they have less experience with the interface than middle school does, and have them really go through and look at, oh, this is what this question is asking, or oh, I need to scroll all the way down the screen, because even though it's an interactive assessment, we find that sometimes it's less intuitive than it could be, and we can't coach students during the test. That's a huge no-no and a violation. So obviously giving students an opportunity to see what the MCAS looks like in advance and how to go ahead and work on that is a key component. Math mirrors that in many ways. We are now in our 5th year of adoption, if you include COVID, with the Bridges Math program, which is strongly aligned and scores very highly on a lot of different evaluations. But we're in the process of trying to move from more whole class instruction to more differentiation and an opportunity to do small groups, including implementing building thinking classrooms, which is an option for differentiation. So a lot of teachers have taken that on and are supported with our math instructional coach. And then at the school level, the elementary school identified 3 areas that they really want to focus on. The first being to really target chronic absenteeism. So not just as a push from the state, but just to recalibrate families' impressions of how important it is to send your students to school, and kind of what that line of demarcation is for chronic absenteeism, and how it can impact students' achievement overall, which again, you saw that data back in October. And then to make sure that we're leveraging non-evaluative walkthroughs as we go through the school day, being able to get into classrooms and help support teachers with feedback that is not as closely tethered to the whole evaluation cycle, but just give real-time feedback. And then also to promote positive messaging around MCAS, which would include communicating with both students and families about the importance of taking that, because every student that opts out counts as a 0, which obviously impacts our overall score. So that is our elementary school action plan in a nutshell.
And the only piece I'd add on, just to build on that a little bit, is so DESE has put a focus on chronic absenteeism, and there's been some stories in the news lately, so I just wanted to make the committee aware of it in the community. So they have made a $10,000 grant available to actually every school district, including the Carver Public Schools. So we have applied for that grant, and we will be receiving it. And the goal of the grant would be to actually run some extra school days for those students who are chronically absent. And right now we're going to be putting together a team both at the elementary school and the middle high school to establish what that may look like. And so it may be some school days on Saturdays or vacations where, especially more at the high school level, because the students can be denied credit based on their attendance, that there'd be some incentives for students to attend on Saturdays or over vacations to earn credit back, in essence, for some of the courses they lost. And then we're going to also design and see what the instructional model is going to look like. But ultimately, I just thought it's important to acknowledge that at the state level, they're recognizing that chronic absenteeism, as we recognize, is a huge issue. And during their presentation, they actually gave the stat that K through 12, all students in Massachusetts, the chronic absenteeism rate was 23%. So 23% of students in the state of Massachusetts missed 18 or more days of school last year, which is really just, I know that it just continues to blow my mind that that's the case. So they're putting a real focus on it as well, making some monies available to school districts to try to promote having students attend school. And then they're going to be doing a public relations effort. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I don't know if there's going to be DESE commercials about go to school, but they are going to be launching a public relations campaign, encouraging students to attend school. And then they said they're going to be sending home some literature for school districts to send out to parents, encouraging students to attend school. But I just think it's important to acknowledge that the state has acknowledged the concern there and is trying to put some resources behind it to support school districts in saying that very important message of, the baseline is coming to school. Being in attendance, it all starts there in terms of helping students become more successful in their own education.
Thank you. Any questions about the elementary action plan before I move on to middle high school? All right, so middle high school, you'll see some of the mirrored experiences that our team at the elementary came up with. So the idea that in English that we're utilizing the MCAS practice tests in routine intervals, not just doing it before the test, but at different times throughout the year, to prioritize text analysis and build up independence. One of the concerns that folks have had kind of across the board is student stamina in writing. So sometimes they'll get a prompt in class and they'll write about it because they know that it's tethered to a grade. But with MCAS, they might, get to that prompt and write far less, even if the prompt says write multiple paragraphs. And so that kind of disconnect between what they see in the classroom and then what shows up on the test can be a challenge. This year, the state actually released last year's essays to teachers so that we could look at them and see how the state assessed them and really recognize that volume, like the amount of writing that we're doing is an issue, and how to build stamina for that, especially when you have 8-year-olds trying to type onto a computer. So recognizing that piece as well. And that extends up through the middle high school as well. And then utilizing online solutions and platforms that provide some good opportunity for teachers to curate some reading passages and having kind of whole class discussion about when you have complex questions, how to attack that and pick out the best answer, and just discussing that with students. Increasing the amount of quick writes that are happening, and again, bringing back the benchmark writing piece as well. In math, probably the biggest action step, which you'll hear about in a couple of minutes, is the adoption of a new middle school math program called Illustrative, which aligns a lot better to the state frameworks and embeds a lot of the 21st century skills that we're looking for, as well as doing some more research around data and being able to have a data suite that is very specific to Illustrative, and then looking at how to embed more MCAS style questions. And then in science, to continue to read and write in the content area, and history echoed this sentiment, and being able to emphasize a format or a conceptual framework that is used in science called claim, evidence, and reasoning when you go to write. And again, exposing students to MCAS questions prior to the MCAS, and being able to offer review prior to the science MCAS. And I just want to pause. We don't have history in here, but there is a civics MCAS in 8th grade that will be started this year. It's the first time that we've had that, including a field test that will come about. So at some point you'll be hearing more about that. And then lastly, much like the elementary school, at the administrative level, really having some hypervigilance around student attendance and being able to track that and then communicate clearly with families around the expectation for attendance, and offering supports if there's a barrier to attendance. So, if it's something that is more anxiety driven or social emotional, being able to enact our teams in both schools to be able to support students so that they feel that sense of belonging and safety when they come to school. Increasing positive messaging around school, around the MCAS rather, and then providing purposeful feedback for teachers, again, through the opportunity of doing walkthroughs, and we have a consultant that is helping us with that right now. So, any questions, bless you, about middle high school?
No, that was a lot of information. I can clearly, I don't know if anyone else, but I wanted to say thank you to all of the teachers and the administrators who have spent all of their time working so diligently to put this together as quickly as it has been put together. Thank you for offering the supports to staff and to teachers. So appreciate all the efforts. Does anyone have anything?
Oh, yeah, one question. So, I mean, I know that most of the students take these on the Chromebooks. Are we looking at those for performance? Because I got several complaints from the little ones, who were talking about how like the test would skip a question or answer the question for them, even if they just move the trackpad just a little bit. And so they struggled a little bit with that. So are they looking at that? Are you guys looking at that too?
Yep, I feel like we've been looking at that for years.
I know, sure.
There are mice available, but actually one thing that we're contemplating adding this year, and this came about through a Job-alike group of instructional coaches who were talking, is the opportunity to use like whiteboards or even taking, transparencies that we used to put up on like an overhead.
Yep.
Okay, I'm probably dating myself.
You're not. No.
I'm not talking about film strips.
Not with the majority of us.
I totally understand this.
Overhead? What's an overhead?
Yeah. So some districts take them and they tape them to the monitor, and then students are given a whiteboard marker, and they can use that to be able to write out the questions. Because there is something to be said for like having to transcribe what's on your screen onto scratch paper and write that down. And I'm talking obviously more at the elementary school level for that. It can be an accommodation for students at any level if they have that built into their IEP, but it's something that is actually a universal accommodation that can be used. So that's something that coaches in other districts were talking about together. And then I know our math department chair asked us recently about the whiteboard piece. Can students write on whiteboards? So there are some test security parameters that we have to follow to be able to do that. But yes, and then in terms of Chromebooks, they do get updated so that it works a lot more fluidly than it used to. We used to have a situation where we didn't have the bandwidth to be able to, basically pull a question down from wherever it's being pulled from, and then send the answer back up and go to the next question. And now all of that has been just scaled appropriately so that it runs more fluidly. But being able to use a Chromebook and use it the right way, that's part of making sure that we're kind of pacing that out throughout the year instead of hey, tomorrow we're going to have the MCAS. And by the way, here's this, this platform.
Perfect.
So,
awesome. Thank you. I have a quick question related to yours is if the question is answered, they can't go back to it, or they can?
They can.
Okay.
They can.
Just will they?
It's the will they, and also if you think about it, they start in 3rd grade, they're 8.
Right.
How well are they really typing? So it's a lot of and most of them are pretty tech savvy anyway. And so is mine. So to have a couple of them tell me, oh, it did this and it did that, and I was just curious. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's teaching them, sorry, my seltzer went down the wrong. It's teaching that perseverance to go back. And I would say that that's not specific to elementary. I think that is across the board. Very fascinating conversation when we worked with teams about why our 10th grade scores are high and how students understand that it matters because you need it for graduation and they take it a lot more seriously. As opposed to in other grade levels, there's a misconception that it matters less because you don't need to do that. So the teachers I was working with were we wish that same level of, high stakes leverage was there in some of the younger grade levels. But the idea is just to express the importance of it, whether you love it, whether you dislike it. There are lots of different opinions about MCAS, but the result is it hasn't gone away. It's, at this point it's here to stay, and it's the most universal currency that's used to compare schools. So fortunately or unfortunately, I'm sure you hear about that at MASC when people talk, that, real estate agents use it. There's a ranking system and all of that. And so we just want to make sure that the hard work that our teachers are doing and that our students are doing is represented accurately.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to wipe my tears from down my seltzer, and I'll be back momentarily.
No problem. Thank you so very much.
I had one more thing.
Oh.
Has there been any discussion about a math club for MCAS preparation? I know last year the 4th and 5th graders had some MCAS math club prep.
Yeah, so we did do that through a grant, and we just received another grant to be able to structure something like that. We have to make sure that we can secure the staffing and talk about when to launch that. And then at the middle high school, that grant will cover some after-school opportunities. It doesn't cover the WIN block, but teachers can always offer that during the WIN block if they choose to. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. So that brings us to food service highlights.
Yeah, so we're just excited tonight to present some of the great stuff that's happening within our food service department. We're happy to have our food service director, Teresa Verrazano, here with us, and Ron, and Ron. and they're going to take us through this. Some just great things, great collaborations going on between food services and both the elementary school and the middle high school.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. All right, so.
So just, well, yeah, Meredith will get it up in one.
It won't give me access.
Oh, let's give me a second. Yeah, see if Ron can share it with you.
Thank you, Ron.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. Nope. It's okay.
Request denied.
Let me refresh it. I don't know why it's not letting me do it.
There we go.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience.
Well, just thank everyone for letting me come this evening and talk a little bit about the food service program and some of the collaborations we've been doing this year. The last time we met was in the spring, and I was happily reporting that our participation in breakfast and lunch has both increased. And as of this year, if we can go, our breakfast participation has increased already since September and October, another 6%,
Wow.
which is really great. As you can see, over since 22, we've progressed upward. Our lunch participation has also increased in just September and October, another 11% increase. That's awesome. That would be the next slide. Yeah.
Can I just say, I know I was talking about overhead projectors. I grew up when film strips had the little bring, and then you would like advance the film strip.
And you had to turn it?
So if you make a little Tinkerbell noise, I will click it every single time. I have
I totally forgot. That's a memory.
Does anyone else remember film
I
strips?
do.
Yes.
If you got chosen, you were like, very
Yeah.
Meredith, you just missed the sound.
So one of my goals also this year, as in past years, is to transform our food service program with collaborations or projects that supports the school food and the nutrition programs. And one of the ways that I've been trying to do that is with a program called Try It Tuesday. We have that at the elementary school once a month. I'll introduce a new food. In the past years, we've done fruits that represent the color of the rainbow. We've done vegetables. As of the end of last year, we started introducing some fresh seafood to the school. We started with teriyaki salmon, which the elementary schools loved, and we did have on the menu last month. We also did a shrimp scampi that they tried that was on the menu, and next Tuesday we're going to be doing baked haddock. Hopefully the students will enjoy that, and we'll have that on a regular basis. And I'm also going to be introducing something new called the kelp meatballs, and I've invited Chef Andrew from North Coast Seafood in Maine, and he's going to come down and cook the kelp meatballs and introduce them to the elementary school and see if they like them.
So are they just like kelp is the replacement for the meat, or is
Yes,
the
it would be the replacement for the meat. That's correct.
don't
Yeah, so I've actually never had them.
I mean, I try new things all the time, but that,
So they're very sustainable, and kelp actually cleans the ocean as well. So it's just one of those plant-based products that's starting to get popular. I've never tried kelp meatballs, so it's going to be new for all of us.
We'll all be trying them. We'll
Yeah, we'll all be trying them.
maybe I'll have to visit the
Mr.
school
Neef will
that
be the
day.
first one in line,
Try it.
hopefully, trying those kelp meatballs.
I do love pasta day or meatballs.
Okay, the next slide. So one of the things I hear a lot anyways is the students will either complain about lunch, or they're still hungry after lunch, or they don't want to eat lunch because they don't like what's on the menu. So I talked to the chef about coming up with some ways that the students can get more involved in menu development. And he had his Culinary Pro Start 1 class develop recipes and create a recipe, and each student would present their recipe in the class. And the class would vote on 3 of those ideas. And what I did is I gave them the calorie count, the fat count, and the sodium count that they have to have incorporated in each menu so that we fall under the meal pattern guidelines. And 3 of the recipes that they all voted on was the macaroni and cheese, a chicken stir fry, and marinated chicken skewers. The class, after making these 3 items, found out that they could not make a good macaroni and cheese. And the sodium that,
Following the
that was
guidelines.
allowed.
Right.
They don't know the tricks yet of that, so they weren't able to do that. So the chicken stir fry and their marinated chicken skewers seemed to make the best, made the best dishes, and the kids, students like those. So after my next collaboration, I won't talk about it just yet, but we're going to be doing gingerbread house. After we finish that, we're going to introduce those 2 menus to the high school, and we'll let them try them, and then they can vote on which one is their favorite, and we'll start implementing that into the menu. So it's just something a little different to get the students involved.
If I could just add one thing real quickly.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, Dr. Erickson, Dr. Erickson was talking a little bit about project-based learning, and I think this is one of those nice, authentic, natural connections to project-based learning where students, in this case the culinary program, get to apply their skill sets in a real-world environment, and kudos to Teresa and her team for being so open and willing to sort of cross those boundaries between food service and the academic program to give them that space and that opportunity to do so. And at the end of that experience, they get to see their product in our cafeteria with their peers, trying it out and sort of understanding the connections between what is just a good idea and what makes a good idea reality. So I just wanted to sort of draw those 2 quick connections.
Thank you. Another collaboration we'll be doing is a gingerbread house that is going to be about 6 by 6, about 12 feet high. We're collaborating with the culinary classes, the MET pathway, the 7th grade math classes, and the maintenance department. And so, as you can see my vision, I saw that one night on Pinterest, and I said, I need to do that. So we presented it with senior Brandon Gainey actually created the first drawing that you'll see right there for what they think the gingerbread house should look like. It's not quite what we were thinking, but that was their first attempt at it. Brandon also printed out with the 3D printer the cookie cutter that we'll use for the rooftop. We're going to be making that out of sugar cookies. Mr. Fees and Mrs. Carter during the WIN block had their students calculate how much gingerbread we're going to need to cover the structure as well. And Ray Amaral will build the structure in wood, and then we'll all get together, everyone that's participated, and we'll create the gingerbread house.
That's so
And
exciting.
they're going to have to walk through that to get in the food line. Right?
So
this is amazing.
It won't be a walkthrough this year, but next year it will be.
One of my all-time favorite memories at Carver is 2nd grade Dot Taselli making a gingerbread house with her for the class. So I've got that recipe if you need it. I'm sure you have one, but that was a good one, and I'm so excited to see this.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yep, next slide. So far with the collaboration, you can see the chef brings his students down, and they were rolling out all the dough, and they were weighing out each of the tiles that we have to build. To date, we've had 426 pounds of gingerbread dough tiles that we've made, and around 100 pounds of the sugar cookie roof also. And that is also Brandon's second design, which is a little bit more in line of what our gingerbread house is going to look like.
And obviously this is a great collaboration for the culinary classes to be doing while the kitchen is under renovation. So it's not a formal presentation this evening, but they did begin construction or deconstruction of the culinary classroom last Wednesday. So that work is underway, and we're hoping they're going to meet the timeline of projecting that project will be completed, end of January, beginning of February. But I think Chef got together with Teresa and said, what might be a good way that my students can use your kitchen
And I found
during
out.
during the time
Naive man.
that the classroom is closed. Right
Yep.
now, the culinary classroom is closed. So obviously that's a hindrance to our culinary classes. But I can't think of a better partnership for them to
This
come
is
with.
so cool.
And the students in the digital photography class has been documenting the whole process, so hopefully we'll have something nice to show afterwards. All right.
Besides a big gingerbread house.
Besides a
Right?
giant gingerbread
It's
house.
going to
which
smell so
hopefully
good
will
in there.
be-
Oh my goodness.
Hopefully it'll all be set and done for December 1st night, for the opening night of their
Of the drama production.
the drama
Yeah.
production. Yeah.
Gosh, you need to have Hansel and Gretel dressed up. Like,
One of the other collaborations I've been thrilled to be part of, and Mr. Lyman is here as well, is the Pathways program with the northern red-bellied cooter, the
They're so
turtles.
cute.
Pictured there is last year's turtles. That would be Butch and Babe. Named after two of our lunch monitors. So what happens is we foster those turtles, and my hydroponic units will feed them. So we've fed them. Last year they came in at, I think it was like 10 grams. They were really small. And when they were picked up from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they were 265 grams.
oh,
So they were good size, and they were tagged and released in Plymouth. So this year we have 4.
Wow.
So we'll be feeding 4 more turtles. And I'm not sure, have we named them?
Yeah, this year, because there's 4 of them. Last year we did a naming contest and the students voted on Butch and Babe. This year with 4, we decided to go classic, and they're Leonardo, Michelangelo.
Perfect.
Nice.
They're neither teenage nor mutant.
Well, they will be teenage. They're years. But the idea is to bulk them up. And they eat pretty much exclusively lettuce provided by food services.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
That's
and They
wonderful.
are an endangered species native to Plymouth County. It's the only place in the world they exist. And at the time the Head Start program, the Mass Fish and Wildlife started Head Start, there was only about 300 of them left in the world.
oh wow.
And now there are several thousand due to this program. And so last year we started collaborating with them, and we were able to get in and foster 2. And because we were able to do that, they gave us 4 this year. And we've been
Ooh,
continuing to work
wow.
with Fish
Next
and
year you're going to get 8.
Well, we do have a limitation, so we've actually been working with Fish and Wildlife to change some of their procedures and to use not just our collaboration, but the other institutions that house them to ask some research questions, to maybe have Fish and Wildlife scientists be able to use this for research for
Yeah.
published papers on the biology of them. So we've been collaborating with them to ask those questions and set up lab protocols to gather that data. And then it's fostering them, which is making sure they're alive and taken care of. And we get to do that through the lettuce that's provided from the food services. So it's a cool collaboration.
I'll
That's
send
pretty
my bill
amazing.
later.
But yeah, but it's not the only collaboration. We're
Right.
working a lot together.
Yeah, next slide. So we're also, one of my other goals is, what we can do, and the food with food waste that we have, whether it be in the cafeteria or the kitchen. And so, again, I reached out to Mr. Lyman, and he's like, oh, great, because, we want to start a program where they raise insects. So they're raising 3 insects right now. What they're trying to determine is which species will recycle the most food waste, so that we can use it to either feed the aquaponics that we'll be having, or whether it be to create, waste for the plants and whatnot in the garden. So they're working on the dubia roaches, crickets and black soldier flies, and so we're giving them our food waste, and I'll let Mr. Lyman talk a little bit more about that, but essentially we're feeding them so that they can grow and multiply and recycle the food waste.
Sorry, you should come up to the mic, because no one at home can hear you.
I was gonna say, nobody, yeah, I'm sure with my voice, nobody can
They
see
probably
me,
cut it
for
up
sure.
on the mic, but.
Yeah, this is another project, like Mr. Griffin said, part of our PBL approach. So students in our sustainable agricultural class were challenged with how can we reduce food waste and use that to grow food? Maybe not food for us, but food for livestock, food for chickens, or for fish to reduce inputs for that. And so we got a tour. Teresa gave us a tour of the students, a tour of the cafeteria and how the back kitchen works. And then they researched different insects they could use for that. And like she said, right now they're testing them. There's 3 bins in my room that are growing these bugs. They are sealed up, so they can't escape. And we're processing it, and then the idea is they're going to evaluate which one of these is the most efficient in terms of being able to consume the waste from the food waste from the school. And also, how much mass they can grow of insects, which ultimately could be used for fish food for another project, which will be in the future, which is our aquaponics system, which will be growing fish for people to eat instead of just the insects. But how can we use food waste from the cafeteria to then turn around and grow food for the students in the cafeteria? Part of the whole sustainable idea is to close the loop and use food waste as an input to grow more food. And again, we've been working a lot with that, which I think is the next slide as well.
No, that's
The
it.
hydroponics and the harvest.
Oh, yeah, well, hydroponics.
Yeah, because that's part
No
of it.
more insects.
There's more of the students.
Yeah, there's our students right there,
Yeah.
sustainable agriculture students. They helped me last year as well as this year. We just had this harvest, they're showing 5 bags. It was about 5.5 bags of lettuce. That was only from 1.5 plants. Units, excuse me. They came down last week, and that's what we were able to harvest out of just 1.5. So
That's awesome.
hopefully we'll create new ways of expanding our hydroponic program. Definitely looking for some more units to grow lettuce so that we can feed both schools at the same time. And I also do have an intern this year. Her name is Dakota Matthews, and she's also helping with the hydroponic systems.
Awesome.
Nice.
And this slide shows, so Fork Farms is where we bought our hydroponic systems from. They partnered with Rockwell Automation, and that's actually the lobby at Rockwell Automation. That's all hydroponics. They're a company from Germany, and they have an automation fair at the Boston Convention Center every year. And this year they reached out to Carver, and they asked if we would grow 2 units of lettuce so that they could showcase it at the fair and then donate the lettuce to a deserving community or a system. And so I reached out to the 5th graders. They were thrilled to be part of the program. So they grew the lettuce. You can see Mrs. Burney's 5th grade class. That was the day that we took that lettuce away last week. And we ended up donating it to Boston Public Schools. So Boston Public Schools got a unit from Fork Farms, but all the lettuce from both farms that was donated to them. So that was a nice collaboration with the 5th graders and Boston Public Schools.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
So, Teresa, thank you. The work that you're doing in food services is just tremendous. We really appreciate the outreach and the efforts you're making, and that Mr. Lyman, that our teachers are making to work in collaboration and bring these things together. And it really is, it's emblematic of the work that we're trying to do in all of our courses at the middle high school in terms of giving students real-world practical applications for what they're learning in the classroom.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much.
I'm incredibly impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's amazing. More reasons to love food. Not that I needed them, but very exciting.
That's so cool.
Right? Thank you so much for that presentation. Really terrific. That brings us to illustrative middle school math curriculum.
So Meredith is going to talk a little bit about the
Or
implementation
illustrative?
of the
Illustrative, okay.
illustrative middle school math curriculum.
Yeah. Thank you. I want a commercial break like that every time. That was super impressive. So yes, as I mentioned during the MCAS action plan, I was going to share some information about our new middle school math curriculum. And one of the concerns that we had going into last school year was just recognizing that as the state, and there's also a federal organization that will look at curriculum, as they were just looking at the alignment between the state standards and our old math program, they realized that even if we implemented our old math program perfectly, we were still going to be missing some areas of the state frameworks that then get assessed on MCAS and that sort of thing. So after looking at data, we recognized that there was a lack of alignment, that there were less student-centered opportunities, and that ultimately there was a lack of consistent results. So we set out to go ahead and select a new math curriculum during last school year that would be implemented starting this September. And we used the same strategies that we used when we were adopting curriculum at the elementary school. So this may be a little bit of a trip down memory lane for those of you that have heard those presentations before. So it started off by looking at ed reports and current research around math instruction, pulling off of some known entities in the field. For example, Dr. Jo Boler from Stanford University and her work around math mindset and being able to look at those pieces. So during a department meeting last year, Erin Young, our department chair, who helped co-construct this PowerPoint, went through, and the middle school teachers worked, or it may have been the whole math department, on looking for the strategies and the instructional practices that hold the most amount of weight and are considered best practices in the field. So they recognize that what we're looking for is more hands-on opportunities, making more real-world connections with middle school math. So when students are sitting there saying, why do we need to learn this? There's some sort of answer to that. Making sure that we're putting students in the driver's seat. So instead of using a model where the teacher is modeling an assignment and then the students work on that independently at their seat, that there's a lot more opportunity for discourse and a lot of discussion going on. And then the next bullet down says productive struggle. For folks that are outside of the world of math education or outside of education, that's a common education term that's used, but it sounds a little bit weird. It sounds a little bit like an oxymoron, like productive struggle. Struggle can't be productive. But the reality is, that students will learn stamina and they'll learn to persevere when they're faced with something that they're trying to do, it doesn't work, and then they go back and try again. So you see that throughout education and design engineering processes, which is part of the science MCAS, and science standards, and the idea that the iterative process in writing, that we have a chance to revisit what we're doing, especially if it's not at kind of that perfect state yet, and we continue to work on that. So the term that is used for that often is productive struggle. And then really looking at some longer term projects. So you can see the chart paper that the math department came up with to be able to capture that. And then ultimately, I have to figure out how to live on two screens. So hold on for 1 second. Here we go. Sorry about that. Ultimately, an overriding factor that folks were looking for is the opportunity for growth mindset. So when students can't figure out how to do a problem in math, that they don't say, I'm not a math person, math isn't for me. We're trying to reset that philosophy and make sure that they understand that math is for everyone and it's important, and what are the strategies that we use to try to confront that stigma. So in doing that, the teachers were able to look at different math programs and then settled on two to pilot. It wasn't an official pilot, so they didn't spend the entire year implementing this. But the idea was to take some lessons and be able to look at something called mid-school math and then illustrative. We even had trainings from mid-school math on how to implement that. And then to do a deeper dive into how it aligns with those parameters that teachers brainstormed for the ideal classroom. And then to really put the teachers who would be implementing this in the decision-making role and have them try these pieces on. So in terms of our journey, we participated in official vendor presentations with both mid-school math and illustrative, where they did their little dog and pony show and spoke about how fabulous the curriculum is. But then more importantly, teachers had the opportunity to pilot lessons, and we were able to get subs and go on some site visits. So we looked at Marshfield, and then we had a teacher that wanted some more opportunity to see it in a different place. So went and looked at Franklin Public Schools, who are also adopting or have adopted illustrative, and then to dedicate time for teachers to talk about what they found, what opportunities and implications there are in moving to both of those two programs. And then at the very end of the year, a final department meeting to be able to say, all right, based on these two, what would you like to go with? So the teachers chose illustrative math. It does meet expectations in all of these areas, so content standards and organization, that there are great appropriate practices that build off of one another, and it becomes scalable and more complex in a progression that makes sense. And then that it's accessible for students, so there's an opportunity to differentiate, and it's usable for teachers so that the lessons are clear and it's not confusing if Corinne and I are both teachers and we're reading the same lesson, that there's not a huge discrepancy between what it is that we're reading. We can access it, we know how to implement it. And then just an excerpt from an evaluation on illustrative, that materials consistently provide students with opportunities to work with mathematical language, that's that discourse, and collaborate with peers through routines and a commitment to making connections between content and lessons. And then you can go on and read the rest of that, but the idea is that there are some positives to that program that we think will translate into students' lived experiences. So the other component is, in addition to feeling like illustrative is student-centered, that it fosters critical thinking, that it's more project-based and real-world. There are other schools in the area that have either recently adopted or are in the same kind of stage of adoption and implementation that we are. And Mrs. Young is in the process of coordinating with some other coordinators or department chairs in other districts to be able to say, how's it going? And can we learn from one another and kind of piggyback off one another's learning experiences. Nice. So for this year, we were able to dedicate some time for professional development. The group has actually gotten together during all of our full and half PD days so far. We were able to purchase some professional development through a grant to be able to support that. So we purchased 2 full days or 12 hours that have been broken up into some of those half-day experiences. We didn't love our first trainer, so we gave them feedback, and then they sent us a superstar for October, which was great. And then we're also researching a data platform called Alex. And I believe that is the end of my presentation. So that's where we are to date, and I would be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Great.
I feel encouraged by this curriculum.
Thank you.
I know. I saw him. Okay. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Okay.
events doing now. Can I just say, Jackie, too, one of the things that the middle school was really looking at was something that would allow bridges, which is what we use at the elementary level, how that philosophy could dovetail nicely with middle school, because we felt like prior to selecting this option that there was a difference in how those two programs kind of emphasize the student and just the pedagogy that was used. So we feel like now it's more vertically articulated between the two buildings.
Nice. So it's an illustrative bridge.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate that.
I'll quickly hit on upcoming events.
Okay.
Though we've talked about a lot of them already, the different parts of the meeting. So I don't
Correct.
feel like I need to spend a lot of time here.
This is
but
a busy upcoming week, though. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on from, this is that
specifically.
time of year from now until the holiday break in December.
Yep.
There's a lot going on and stuff pretty much almost every night, if you wanted to come up to the school and check something out. So I do want to highlight, this hasn't been mentioned yet, is that on Wednesday evening this week at 6 o'clock, the middle high school is actually doing a school safety roundtable talking about ALICE procedures and generally school safety procedures for parents. So that's 6 o'clock for middle high school parents. We will be with the middle high school administration, myself, fire, police will be there to discuss our procedures and protocols and answer questions that parents have. That we certainly can do. So we'd encourage parents on Wednesday evening to come out to our school safety roundtable at the middle high school. The community should also be aware that the senior class is sponsoring a blood drive. That's on Thursday from 2 to 7. That is a community-based blood drive, so people can sign up online. If you go out to the Red Cross and look for, search a site where you can make a donation, that will come up as one of the options. So obviously, our students who are old enough to donate and staff donate, but also we have a lot of community representatives who participate in the blood drive. So if you're interested in giving blood drive to middle high school Thursday from 2 to 7 o'clock.
Excellent.
Some of these other events we've already talked about. Alumni breakfast is a traditional event that occurs so we invite last year's seniors back to meet with this year's seniors. That's be 9 o'clock on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving during the school day. And we've mentioned the football games coming up this Friday, Shepherd's Hill High School, and then the Thanksgiving game, which is home this year against Middleborough. And we obviously hit on the drama club performance on December 1st and 2nd for Matilda the Musical. And also on here, some of these are after our next meeting, so they'll be on our next meeting too, but we do have obviously the holiday concert season is coming up. With the band and chorus concert at the elementary school on December 14th at 6:30, the high school band and chorus concert on the 19th at 7 o'clock, and the middle school one has to be on there someplace. I'm missing it. They're going to do one big one this year.
Right?
Did I split it out? I should have known that. They're not split out. They're doing one big one on the 19th for both the middle school and the high school band and chorus concert. So a lot of stuff coming up over the next couple months. Next really 5-6 weeks will be very busy.
Very, very busy.
And we
Time
also,
is going to fly.
obviously encouraging members of the community to come out to all of these events. So part of the reason why we put it on the agenda is just to take a minute to show the events to the community, just another outlet, another means to communicate to the community all the things that are happening at the Carver Public Schools.
Right, and everything's listed on the calendar on the school website. So if
it's
anyone
all-
wants additional information,
It's all out
it's
there.
all there. So, which is great. It's great to have one calendar to go to list everything in the district. So thank you for your efforts on that, Gina. It's greatly appreciated. Very easy to navigate. Okay, so that brings us to recommendations from the superintendent.
Okay, so first we'll go to Ron for our financial updates, and actually going to talk a little bit about student activities accounts this evening as well.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent Neef. So in your financial memo, we've got a bit of dense information for you. I'll keep it as high level as possible, but certainly stop me if you have some questions on it. I'd like to start with state and federal finance updates. I've got an interesting update from Washington. This one's a little bit dense, so bear with me for a moment. So the USDA, Department of Agriculture, actually oversees the federal reimbursement for lunches, right? So like free and reduced lunches. Anyway, they're making a rule change that may ultimately impact Massachusetts and Carver. The big picture is this. States like Massachusetts and other states who have already funded free lunch and breakfast for kiddos have a formula that they use to reimburse schools for the free lunch and breakfast that they give. The feds are trying to do that as well, and in order to get more schools to participate in the federal program, they're lowering the threshold that would allow schools to do that. So right now the feds say it's got to be about 40% of your kiddos have to be hitting some poverty level line, and they're going to bring that down to 25% to try to get more schools around the country to participate, which is great for kids around the country.
Yep.
Massachusetts is interested in this as well, though, because right now places like Carver don't participate in the federal program. Their reimbursement's not as good as the state one. We get more money from the state than the feds. The state is interested in trying to get schools like Carver and other districts to participate, because what it will do is it will offset the cost that the state is spending on free lunch and free breakfast, right? They'll get money from the feds to do that. So this rule is being worked out. It's a little bit of like behind baseball in the details there, but the long and short is ultimately if Carver has to accept this rule, we would receive a little bit less money for our reimbursement for free lunch and free breakfast, because we get part of it from the federal government and part of it from the state government. Good for the state budget, not super good for Carver's program. So more to come on this as it develops. That's the high level. You have a link to the rule change from the USDA if you're bored and want to, fall asleep at night. That's a good way to do it. But it goes into great detail about what the rule is and sort of how it will work. I'll keep you posted on that. On Beacon Hill, they've been busy. So I've got a couple of items for you from Massachusetts State Finance. The first is the Rural Schools Bill. So it's named Rural Schools. You have a link there, but it actually has some impacts that can directly find its way here to Carver. The large majority of them are connected to special education. I've listed them there in your memo. I'll give you a few seconds to give you a highlight on it. The first is what I'm really excited about. It's a provision that would allow for a separate non-resident pupil transportation fund. So money set aside for kiddos who live in Carver who have to go outside of Carver, or for kiddos who live outside of Carver that come into Carver. Either way, there'd be an opportunity for additional funding to support transportation, which we could very much use. That'd be a huge benefit for Carver. In particular, it would provide 100% reimbursement for school transportation to kiddos who are out of district, right? So kids who are going to collaboratives or those private 766 schools, like that sort of thing. Bless you. So that'd be really beneficial for Carver. We're keeping a close eye on that. A couple other provisions that are interesting. They plan to establish a commission to re-examine special education financing. That would be phenomenal. Just in general, that's a good thing that the state hasn't done in a while. It's overdue. They'll strengthen some pipeline programming for SPED teachers, give some more options for SPED licensure, which I think will be beneficial for all districts. And then this letter D, I think, is the one that's probably the most powerful. To provide 100% reimbursement for tuition costs, again, for the out-of-district students. We've seen an increase in some of those costs, both in terms of the cost per student increasing and the actual number of students who have needed to enroll in some of the out-of-district placements. So that'd be a windfall for communities like Carver, and we're certainly not alone in that. So we'll keep a close eye on that one. That bill is going to be one that we hope will pass in some capacity. Number 2, again, also Beacon Hill. Again, a little bit dense here. Sorry to kind of go into high density stuff, but high level is back in the beginning of FY24, the state included $20 million in circuit breaker funding. Circuit breaker is a fund they set aside that helps school districts offset the costs to things like special education tuitions to collaboratives in those 766 schools. Anyway, they typically only spend about $4 to $4.5 million each year as that appropriation. So it's the better part of 4 to 5 times the appropriation already in the budget at the state level, which is awesome. Every school district, including Carver, got hit with that 14% increase on tuitions. This will be a way to help offset that. We're super excited about that. In addition to that, the state has proposed H4167. Again, I've got the link there to the language if you want to dive into it in great detail. But essentially, it carves out an additional $75 million, what's called extraordinary relief. Essentially, extraordinary relief is the situation that Carver's in right now, where if you have, in a given fiscal year, a large increase in your out-of-district special education costs, extraordinary relief is there where you can essentially apply for some offsetting funds. Doesn't offset the whole amount, but it's a way to help bridge the gap for communities. Again, this would be huge for Carver. We've been in contact with DESE already about what this could look like and what the mechanics could be. It hasn't passed yet, but we're hopeful that Beacon Hill will pass that in its full amount. That would give a total of $95 million in circuit breaker and extraordinary relief, up from $4 to $5 million. So a massive bump, again, commensurate with some of the increases that we've seen across the Commonwealth. So more to come on H4167 and what that will look like for us.
Excellent.
Your next page just has your warrants. So you've got your payroll and expenses, as always, to the penny there for us. There's no transfers, but I just wanted to bring to your attention that we're still maintaining and carrying some negative balances.
Yep.
It's not typical. We don't typically do this, but these are well outside of your budget. And so I want to just make sure you're aware of those balances. You see them listed below. Again, the large majority of them in special education tuitions and transportation for those students to go to those locations.
Mm-hmm.
We anticipate that we'll ultimately have to lean on our special education reserve at the end of the year to offset that balance. But those are permanent costs, right? So I just want to be clear about those are not one-time costs. Those costs are going to have to be carried year to year, which signals that FY25 is just going to be a challenging fiscal year for us to meet our budget.
Yep.
No action to be taken yet. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. I want to be transparent about what your costs are, what you're carrying, and what we're looking like for FY25. On the good news for the financial side, going over to the grants, you have a state appropriation grant for the MyCap grant. MyCap is My Career and Academic Plan. It's something that Dr. Erickson alluded to in our earlier presentation. It's essentially funding to allow school districts like Carver to implement this career and academic planning program through the guidance department. Lets kiddos help think about what they want to do long after they graduate Carver. Do you want to talk any more about that, or is that?
You did a great job.
There we go.
My only suggestion at this point would be, I broke it out into two motions.
Oh, sorry.
So I wanted to separate out the student activities, because I think maybe it makes sense to do so.
Sorry.
So I think we should, if the committee's willing, I think we should have a motion to approve the financial report, including the warrants and the grants. And then Ron's going to talk a little about student activities, and then I think there should be a separate motion on the student activities accounts. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay. That makes sense. Do we want to wait until Kelly gets back? Or do you want to
Yeah, I guess we
run
wait
the
for Kelly to
motion
come back and
now?
Ron talk about student activities and just say,
Okay.
I think they should be two separate motions.
Yep, okay.
Your student activities is really just housekeeping. So the law essentially governs student activities as such. It says that, hey, students can fundraise monies, and when they do that, the schools can become the custodian of those monies, which we do.
Mm-hmm.
So activity clubs, a variety of different clubs, they fundraise monies throughout the years. We have different little accounts for them that roll up into one big bank account, and we manage that for them. Ultimately, they're in charge of it. We just help them use this opportunity to learn about financial acumen and financial education. But part of good practice when you have student activities is just at the beginning of the year to vote the total amount that each school has, and that make sure the school committee is aware of all of your sub-accounts. So what you have in front of you are the starting balances for the middle high school, and the elementary school. The middle high school has $115,911.32. The elementary school has $14,489.13, and those are all broken out into the smaller sub-accounts, right? So the middle high school has a account for the graduating classes, and an account for the math group, and an account for the science groups, and so on and so forth. And so it's just good practice to have that sort of line in the sand each year. And if you have any questions about that, I'm certainly happy to answer those questions. There's no new accounts this year. With this new accounts, we typically come back to and say, oh, hey, we're building some new account. Please approve, X, Y, and Z account with a starting balance of whatever it's got. So it's purely housekeeping for this one.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about either of those topics, the financial update or the student activities accounts? Nope. Okay. We can move on to the motions so we can keep the agenda going. It's almost 9. If someone would like to make either motion.
Are we making a motion to approve the MHS totals for FY24 starting balance? Or are we approving the student activities accounts?
There's actually two motions in the background agenda that are already written.
Do you think we should the student activities account motion include the exact
I
dollar
don't see
amount?
the motion on the
Or I think
background.
it's okay.
Background agenda's all messed up, so I'd help you
Okay.
out, but.
All right.
Okay. Do you have it, Katie?
No, it's
No,
not
we're
on mine.
like clicking on it and we can't get in.
Yeah.
Are you on Scott's screen? Oh, no, you're on your screen and it's not there?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You can use mine.
All right, that's perfect. I move that we approve the financial report as presented this evening, including acceptance of the warrant, the grants the district has received since our last meeting. Do I make the second motion now?
We'll just vote on the first one.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
And then I move to approve the Carver Middle High School and Carver Elementary School student activities accounts as presented.
I'll second.
Do we need the dollar amounts thrown in there? No, we should be fine, right?
You have them in your background in detail, I think that's sufficient.
Okay.
Wait. How much?
I don't think you'd need them in the
Yeah, I think it's fine. You said as presented, so
Yeah.
it should be covered.
Like-
Okay,
like
so
you're
we
gonna turn my head and-
So we have a motion and a second on that, correct? Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ron, for all of that
Thank you.
information. And then that brings us to a final vote on the capital budget.
Yeah, so at our first meeting in October, we reviewed the proposed capital requests. And so Ron will kind of go over some small changes we've made in those proposals and maybe the major items we're going to hit on. Right, that'd be good.
Yeah, so no major changes from our previous proposal. I won't go through the entire thing with you. I just have a couple of highlights. So in our previous proposal, we had a middle high school HVAC renovation, and we had funding set aside for that, but I think I had mentioned we were in the process of proposing that as well to be funded through ARPA. And I'm happy to report that the town has approved our proposal to fund that through ARPA. So we'd have $180,000 funded through ARPA with no cost to the taxpayers here. So that's the one change that we've got on the renovations for HVAC. The second change is at the concession stand. The initial proposal was $125,000. We did explore some cost savings options. Essentially, instead of having to construct a building sort of concrete foundation up, there are options in which a shed, a building, can be built off-site, transported here to Carver, and placed down on your existing sort of crushed stone that you have over at the concession stand space at the stadium. And so that should reduce your cost pretty substantially to the taxpayer, which I think is a benefit for everybody. So we propose bringing that down to $75,000. And our goal will be to sort of bring our little working group together to guide that project as we continue to go. I want to be transparent with you. A project like that would mean that you wouldn't have, kitchen equipment like ovens and fryer-laters and grills, but you'd still have a space to be able to, sell concessions and tickets and those sorts of things, right? The next is the middle high school library renovation. So that update was initially proposed at $105,000. We are recommending an expanded scope to $120,000. The rationale for that is simply that inflation on the equipment that we're going to need is going to continue to rise between now and when this gets approved. The middle high school and elementary technology follow that same line of reasoning. So from $58,000 to $65,000 and from $36,000 to $40,000 respectively. Again, just to account for inflation on technology and the technology-related equipment. You've got an executive summary there on your memo. You also have a full copy of the entire 10-year plan with drill-down detail for each of the FY25 proposals. All in, the updates here net approximately $26,600 in total savings from our preliminary plan. It's not huge money, but every little bit helps, I'm sure. And so my request to the committee would be to approve this plan as presented tonight, and we'll bring that to the town.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions or any comments?
I do have a question about the concession stand. You said we won't be able to have the things that, like the fryer later and stuff, but wasn't that, and I'm not a booster, but maybe Stephanie can answer, but wasn't that an important thing that you wanted to be able to offer? Like fryer later type concessions?
Yeah, actually, I was surprised because I knew that the previous concession stand had some of those, but the overall feeling was we just want to be able to continue to offer what we've been offering so far. You know, we talked about maybe getting, you know, a coffee urn, you know, some smaller appliances that we could use. But when it came down to it, we talked about the fryer later in the oven, and we're like, who's going to maintain that? Because you know, the booster club is going to change. Yeah. And then we're thinking we don't have the staff at the school to, you know, to really maintain that either.
I just wanted to make sure because I knew that was like important, so I wanted to follow up and make sure.
And they have reached out to some other youth sports organizations in town for their feedback. And so far everyone is kind of had the same mindset from my understanding.
Okay.
But I'm hoping for.
Just to add to that, the upfront costs in terms of the infrastructure that you'd need just doesn't outweigh the benefit that you're going to have. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in, you know, infrastructure costs and safety equipment to be able to run fryer-laters and those sorts of things. And so, like, return on investment was part of our conversation in the initial meetings.
Yeah, like we're hoping to maybe, you know, add some soft pretzels.
Got it.
You know, add some.
Right. The only
so you get you a fried daddy.
Right. The only other piece I'd add to that is that once you get to that level of cooking,
you need
it changes the scope of the project.
Food safety, it's much more like considered a kitchen in terms of the Board of Health and getting code approvals.
I was just asking because I know that it had come up, and I just wanted to make sure that we were all still on the same page as all.
Yes.
And I think the smaller appliances would be a microwave, popcorn, those types of
coffee
things.
maker. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, we're not gonna. It's not gonna be crazy, but creative.
Yeah.
Creative concessions.
Yeah, so we'd be looking for a vote to approve the capital plan that was presented really in October, and then again this evening. There's the summary is in your background for the entire plan. Meredith has it up. I don't know if she has the summary page up. 18 of 18 down the bottom.
You know what?
There's a summary page.
Is the elementary school project still on there for the, did I just miss it?
For the berm?
Yeah, for the berm.
It's still on there for $50,000 as presented in the preliminary.
Okay.
So I just gave you highlights.
Okay, of the changes? Okay.
So yeah, that's still on there.
I just looking at it in the background, like, oh, wait a minute, that's still there, so, okay.
Yeah, but in the background, you have the full.
Okay, yep, all that stuff, okay.
And so the total capital request for this year, if approved, would be $716,660. That would be all the proposals.
That's a lot. There are a lot of projects on there for $716,000.
Okay.
It's both.
Everyone will be able to see where that investment is made. It will be clear as opposed to a boiler or, you know, boring doors and windows and other that are necessary, but some other projects that we have done that haven't, you know, are necessary and are great and are wonderful. But these will be something that everyone will be able to recognize when they come to our campuses, so, which is exciting. So anyway, would someone like to make a motion?
Sorry.
Okay.
I thought there was a sneeze coming. Thank you.
I move that we approve the capital budget as it is.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for all of that pertinent information. It's wonderful and exciting. Fingers crossed. Okay, so that brings us to some policies.
Yeah, but second, we have two policies this evening. The policy subcommittee met on Wednesday, October 18th to review the recommended changes to the policy from MASC, policy DJ, which is purchasing. Ron reviewed the changes with the subcommittee. We brought it for a first reading at our last meeting. For this policy, the change was really minor. If you don't remember, we're replacing the word "they" with "the agent" in the second paragraph. But we have to bring it back for the second reading tonight, and I would recommend we approve the policy as recommended this evening.
I agree.
I move that we approve policy DJ purchasing as it's written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the second policy was a second reading of policy DJE, procurement procedures. Again, the policy subcommittee met on Wednesday, October 18th, to review our current policy and the recommended changes from the MASC. This policy was a little different. In the end, we voted to take the first portion of the recommended MASC policy and replace our current policy. So we didn't just wholesale adopt the MASC recommendations, and our current policy actually wasn't fully in line with the old MASC policy. So we kind of looked at the three of them, came together, and developed this policy in terms of rules and regulations around procurement. The policy that we've crafted is a bit broader and allows the policy to adapt if the thresholds around purchasing are changed, revised over time. So the recommendation from MASC actually had the very specific dollar amounts or recommendations that you'd have to put in. So this makes a broad saying we're going to follow the regulations and established by the Inspector General. The one change we made from last time is the last time in the last sentence it said the district shall adhere to all public procurement laws and regulations outlined in, last time it said the Attorney General, it should have said the Inspector General's manual released annually. So the only change from last time is that change. So we took this policy, it was a little larger, we made it broader, it's 3 paragraphs with a conclusion of the district shall adhere to all public procurement laws and regulations outlined in the Inspector General's manual released annually. So that's the only change from last time, and I would recommend approval of this policy with that change.
Okay.
I move that we approve policy DJE, procurement procedures as written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent, thank you. That will save us time versus having to revisit that policy every time they change the threshold, which I think we've done a number of times already. It's always great to work smarter and not harder. So thank you for that recommendation, Ron. Greatly appreciated. Okay, so that brings us to reports from the school committee. Anyone have anything they would like to report?
I just want to say congratulations to all of our sports teams in the high school. It's kind of been an amazing year all around. We're on a big upswing in a lot of different areas, education, socialization, with our sports. I also want to say congratulations. We had a Super Bowl winner this week with our Carver Cowboys. They had a great game on Sunday. And again, congratulations to 2 of the Carver Youth Cheer teams who are 3rd place in New England, both of them.
So exciting.
Very exciting. And to all of our teams that competed this weekend, and all of the teams in the youth sports that concluded this weekend, because I know soccer had a big finish up this week as well. Congratulations to all of you. Let's bring on Thanksgiving and show our gratitude.
Yeah.
Right, it's crazy to think we don't meet again until December 11th.
I know.
I just want to say to all the teachers and all the students in the district, have a wonderful Thanksgiving break, and I hope that the next week and a half is kind to all of you.
Nice. I like that. That's great advice.
I'm from a teaching point of view.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure you're ready for that break.
Between Halloween and Thanksgiving, it's got to be rough.
Yeah. And I feel like Thanksgiving is like early this year, so it's like a lot of energy in between. So
yeah,
good luck. Godspeed.
Anyone else have anything? God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. The sneezing seems to be passing its way around the room. God bless you.
We got like a little draft in here, I think.
Yeah,
So clearly, I got my scarf and my coat on because I couldn't take it anymore. Anyone else?
Just like to say happy Thanksgiving. So we're not going to meet again until after.
Right, which I looked it up earlier. I'm like, oh my gosh, December 11th. That is just crazy that we're not going to meet until then. So everyone enjoy the break. It's almost 4 weeks. A little bit of extra time there. I just very quickly want to, so that I would report back a little bit about the conference. There was a lot of great information, a lot of great presenters, made a lot of great connections. I was reelected as chair of Division 7 for MASC for another 2 years, so which is great. I have a very strong executive team, and we have lots of great plans that will bring, I think, opportunities for professional development, not only for us, but for our district. Met Danny Charbonneau, who is the Massachusetts Teacher of the Year, who teaches on the Vineyard and literally takes the ferry back and forth every day because she believes in her students and the Vine program that they run over there so much. So she's pretty incredible. Hoping to have her do some type of a talk for the district. So it was really great to speak with other superintendents, other school committee members from across the Commonwealth, and also the executive board of the National School Board Association attended, and it was great to see them again. And they are also very fired up for a lot of great projects that they have in the works. So it was great to see and to be in a room where there are so many people who are so passionate about education and student opportunity and student voice and student choice and all of those very important topics in education these days. So it was really great. Got to meet the Secretary of Education, who was amazing. And it was great, like I said, to just see so many people who are so passionate, who are doing such great work in the education space. So just wanted to share that. There'll be more to come. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Get out there, enjoy the events in our district, enjoy time spent with your family, and we appreciate you. So just to everyone in the district, thank you for all the hard work that you bring with you each and every day. I know some days are more challenging than others, and everything that you do is appreciated. You might not hear it that often, but we certainly appreciate you, and others do too. You just might not hear it. So thank you for the good work. Keep up the good work, and like Katie said, enjoy the time off. Relish every moment. Happy Black Friday shopping if you so choose to partake.
Only if it's cranberry relishing.
Cranberry relishing, that's awesome. Anyway,
Sorry.
No, that's great. We are a cranberry community, so it's wonderful. So if anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn, that would be great.
I move that we adjourn the November 13th, 2023 school committee open session.
And I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. So the November 13th, 2023 meeting of the Carver School Committee is adjourned at 9:11 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Have a nice
care.
night.